What's going on, guys? My name is Tim Ruswick, and today I wanted to talk about why you should not start with your masterpiece. What does this mean? What is a masterpiece? Why shouldn't we start with it? A masterpiece for me was always like the game that I wanted to make if I had $500 million and a team of 200 people. When I started making games, I played Halo Combat Evolved back in the day, and that game inspired me. And the first thing that I wanted to make was an epic FPS in a super crazy alien world, big open world, and it was the biggest, most epic shooter ever in existence. And it was going to kill Halo. My game was so big and so awesome, it was going to kill Halo. And that was going to be my masterpiece. And I started trying to develop my masterpiece. That was the first game that I ever started on. And as you can imagine, it just didn't work out. Now, starting with the masterpiece, I think is something we see. It's common in game development. It's actually common in businesses and startups as well, but I think it's less problematic in those areas because if your business idea works and it generates cash and you're smart about it and you can build stuff along the way, I think it can work. But in a game, you can build really unnecessary technical systems. You can start with things that are just completely overwhelming. You can try and build crazy technical challenges and never even get to the finish point of the game, never even get to a playable state. Like right now, if you want to build an FPS, you can spend months developing and never actually get to a place where you can run around and shoot people. And I think it's a mistake for a lot of reasons, but I'm going to go through a few of the main ones. First, I think starting with the masterpiece is a great way to discourage yourself from ever completing a game. If you start with the masterpiece, if you start with the major game that you want to make, if you start with that epic AAA title, that MMO RPG, that crazy game, you can burn yourself out on game development forever. You'll learn a ton. You're going to want to, you're going to jump in and dive and learn a ton. But the stuff that you're going to learn I don't think it's going to be relevant to actually making games on a larger scale. I don't think it's going to be relevant longer term. I think there are a lot of easier and simpler and faster ways to learn the same things. So starting with the masterpiece, I just feel like is a convoluted way of learning some stuff because no one ever actually finishes it. Like maybe there's a rare example of one dude that, worked in the game for 5 or 10 years or something. I'm sure you guys in the comments will list whatever game that is. I'm sure you guys keep me on point. I'm sure someone has made a game like that and they started with their masterpiece. But generally, it's a bad idea. Number one, because of the, crazy technical challenge. Number two, I think it's much more effective to start small and build up like a staircase and get to that point than actually start there because there's so many things that you learn not just about technology and development, but about working with people, finishing, publishing, marketing. There's so many things that you learn. And even if you did actually finish the masterpiece, if you did actually manage to get it finished, it would likely flop anyway because you don't know anything about finishing, you don't know anything about marketing, you don't know anything about any of these other skills that you need to actually make a successful game, that you would spend all that time and money and effort on building something that likely wouldn't go anywhere. And that would be heartbreaking, right? I can't imagine what it's got to be like to spend 10 years of your life on something and just have it flop. Man, that's got to be horrible. And I would never want to be a part of that. So I think it's definitely not a good idea because here's the thing. Your masterpiece, that game that you want to make, that AAA title, that epic, huge, amazing game that everybody's going to love, why can't that be your 10th game? Why can't that be your 11th or 15th game? Why does it have to be your first? People think that when they start out, they need to make this magnum opus, this epic, crazy thing that's going to define them as a game developer and break them in the industry. But in reality, that's how you fail. That's how you bite off way more than you can chew and just try something way too epic. And you can get discouraged really easily by just taking on a project of that size. Like one day you will wake up and you'll sit down at your computer and you'll just realize, holy shit, I've been working for months and I'm not any closer to my goal. And not only that, like there are so many issues that you run into game development, like feature creep and scope creep, and coming up with new ideas, getting stuck in feature frenzy, all that stuff. Like if that happens on a larger scale game and you're not equipped for it, you are gonna be making that game forever. It is like, and I'm not joking. Like that game is gonna last you forever. It because I went through this, man. Project Exodus was supposed to be my first game. That was the name of it. It's supposed to be a Halo killer. I worked on it probably 3.5 years. I went through multiple different engines. I went through like FPS Creator. I tried to make it in Dark Basic Pro. I tried to modify the FPS Creator engine because it was open source. I went through so many different iterations of it, and then I kept changing the story, so I have to redo some of the levels. And like, because I was not equipped, and I was using FPS Creator, right? I was using like a drag and drop tool to create an FPS game. And even that was a daunting task because I didn't understand any of the other stuff that came with game development. I didn't understand any of the common pitfalls. I didn't understand myself enough to really plan and work on a project of that scale. And like it's rough, man. It's not a good idea. There may be somebody out there that it works for, but it didn't work for me. And I think starting with the masterpiece should be your 10th game, or it should not happen up front. You should focus on your masterpieces like your 10th game, 15th game. And you know what? I still plan on making Project Exodus one day. I really do. It's like this epic AAA title. I may even bring it down from like an FPS to a top-down shooter or something like that, just to make it done because the story is so crazy and epic in my head. And I want to get that story out of myself someday, but I have other projects that I have to make before then. Like I know Philophobia, it's already taught me a ton. It's going to teach me even more. Going through that whole process and launching an actual PC game, hopefully a console game, and just going through that whole process is going to like teach me so much. It already has. Like going through the whole mobile game thing with the Finish Friday stuff, that taught me a ton too. Like there's so much that I learned in a small amount of time just by making a bunch of games. 12 games in 2017 was one of the best decisions I ever made in my life because that was like I got more out of that year in game development than I got out of my 3.5 years in college, man. And it was so worth it. And had that been one big project the whole time that never got finished, no way. So I'm thankful that I didn't start with my masterpiece. Well, I did, but then I quit. I'm thankful I wasn't working on it this whole time, right? Because I could still be working on it. Nah, I never would have started a YouTube channel. Then you guys wouldn't be watching me. Damn. That's all I got for you guys today. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please leave me a like and a comment down below. You got a masterpiece game? What's your masterpiece game? And are you working on it now? Yes or no? Leave me that comment down below. Once again, I'm Tim Ruswick, and I'll see you again tomorrow.